What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I want to take a look at a fantastic welterweight by the name of Dixie Kid. Now, Dixie Kid was born December 23rd, 1883 in Fulton, Missouri. He died on April 6, 1934 in Los Angeles, California. He stood 5 foot 8 inches and weighed 138 to 155 pounds. His managers were Bill Jacobs and Charlie Gavin. Dixie Kid always fought heavier men. He fought the majority of the times with his hands below his waistline, bounced from side to side, and kept his chin tucked. He defeated fighters such as Joe Walcott, the Barbados Demon. Now, Walcott was a former welterweight champion of the world. In fact, that's who he took the title from. He would fight Jeff Clark. Jeff Clark was a fantastic African-American fighter and fought the greats of his time. He would face George Compantier. George Compantier was a light heavyweight champion of the world. He fought Jack Dempsey, and he lost his title to Battle Nsiki. He fought Frank McConnell, Moses LaFonte, Johnny Summers. Johnny Summers was a very good fighter himself. And he would fight another good African-American fighter, and George Cole. Jack Meekins was a good fighter. Now, Dixon was inducted into the Ring Hall of Fame in 1975 and to the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 2002. He would also fight Frank Maness. Now, Frank Maness was a welterweight champion. Kid Williams, another champion. Kid Sharkey. Dave Harley. Dave Harley was a good African-American fighter. Larry Temple, another good African-American fighter. Young Peter Jackson. Jeff Clark, just to name a few. He would face Joe Walcott on April 29, 1904. And he would win on a foul in 20 rounds. So let's take a look at Dixie Kid's career. Now, as you can see here, Dixie Kid, generally recognized as holding the welterweight from 1904 to 1906. On October 16th of that year, Honey Melody of Boston beat Joe Walcott in 15 rounds. After Mike Twin Sullivan beat Honey Melody in 20 rounds at Los Angeles, California in 1907, a clear claim to the title was not enjoyed by any particular fighter. Sullivan outgrew the class, as did Jimmy Gardner. They had two 10-round newspaper decisions over Dixie Kid in 1910. Ray Bronson, Packy McFarlane, Kid Graves, Mike Glover, and Spike Kelly, at one time or another, was considered champions. The title was never cleared up from the muddle. This sounds very familiar in today's boxing. In 1915, Jack Britton beat Mike Clover in Boston, Massachusetts. And Britton his turn was whipped by Ted Kid Lewis. Ted Kid Lewis, I did a profile on him. If you want to learn more about him, go to Ted Kid Lewis, Scrapbook Boxing. Ted Kid Lewis was a phenomenal welterweight. He claimed the crown. Now let's take a look a little deeper into Dixie Kid. He knocked out Tony Rivers in 1 round, Dan Ranger in 3 rounds, Clyde Burham in 8 rounds. He had a draw with Kid Williams in 20 rounds and Bully Woods in 10 rounds. In 1900, knockouts as follows: Mike McCrew, 2 rounds, Tim Leonard, 1 round, Black Sharkey, 4 rounds, Bobby Dobbs, very good fighter, 4 rounds, Frank Darty, 2 rounds, and Jack Dean, 10 rounds. That's a phenomenal win over Bobby Dobbs. Outstanding African-American fighter. 1901, knockouts as follows: another good fighter, Frisno Pete, 4 rounds, John Phillips in 2 rounds, Kid Ruggles in 6 rounds. 1902, knockouts as follows: Ben Hart, 4 rounds, Young McConnell, 4 rounds, Metal Duplo, 1 round. Henry Lewis, 11 rounds. They called him the hairpin. Guys Boris, 1 round. I mean, this is fantastic. 1903 knockouts as follows. Fred Mueller, 8 rounds. Soldier Green, 6 rounds. Eddie Kane, 2 rounds. Chas Thurston, 1 round. Al Neal, 20 rounds. Moses LaFontis, 10 rounds. Now in 1904, he would face Joe Walcott in San Francisco on April 30th. And he would win on a foul in 20 rounds and win the welterweight championship of the world. On May 12th, he would have a rematch with Joe Walcott, the Barbadian Demon, in San Francisco, California. He would receive a 20-round draw for a title bout return in behalf of Joe Walcott. On September 21st, he would face Joe Grimm. Joe Grimm was a very dirty fighter in those days, but he was in there with all the big names. He would defeat him in 10 rounds and defeat him in 6 rounds. He fought him September 21st and October 3rd. Dixie Kid outgrew the class and gave up the title. November 12th, Philadelphia Jack O'Brien in Philadelphia, no decision in 6 rounds. Knockouts. Al Neal, 1 round. John Solomon, 11 rounds. Joe Mills, 9 rounds. John Dancer, 4 rounds. Chase Thurston, 20 rounds. Young Peter Jackson, he drew 15 rounds, no decision. Dave Harley, 6 rounds. Larry Temple, 6 rounds. Dave Harley, 6 rounds. Outstanding fighters there. 1905, Larry Temple, January 2nd in Baltimore, 15-round draw. He defeated Joe Grimm in 6 rounds and no decision. George Cole, 6 rounds. Fascinating. Knockouts. Fighting Ghost, 2. No decision. Cub White in 6. Fighting Ghost, 6. George Cole in 6. And Tommy Coleman, 6. 1909, knockouts as follows. Sailor Cunningham in 5. Burt Whirlwind, in 3. Kid Williams in 4. Young Sam Langford in 1. Battling Johnson in 6. Sam Bolin in 6. Mike McDonald in 10. Al Gray in 8. Fighting Ghost in 8. Twice knocked out by Sam Langford in 5. 1910. Look at the schedule. Fascinating. He would receive all wins, a few no decisions, and 2 losses. 1 by knockout and 1 by 8-round loss. He was knocked out by Sam Langford on January 10th, Memphis, Tennessee. He was knocked out in 3 rounds. And he lost to Kyle Whitley, March 15th, in Boston, Massachusetts. He lost to him in 8 rounds. That was in 1910. But he would fight fighters such as George Cole on April 2nd in New York City, knock him out in 4 rounds. Jimmy Cabby, another good fighter, May 5th, New York City. No decision in 10 rounds. Fighting Kennedy, New York City, knock him out in 8 rounds. That was on May 12th. July 16th, he would face Fighting Kennedy again in New York City. No decision in 10 rounds. Frank Mintel, as I said, he was a welterweight champion. August 1st, New York City, no decision in 10 rounds. Willie Lewis, New York City, no decision in 10 rounds. That was on September 9th. Billy West, Willie Lewis, Frank Mintel again in Waterbury, no contest, 5 rounds. He fought Frank Mintel November 24th. 1911, Mike Twin Sullivan. Fascinating. He would be champion. January 17th in Buffalo, New York, no decision in 10 rounds. Let me show you Mike Twin Sullivan. Here you have Mike Twin Sullivan. He would defeat Mike Twin Sullivan. Fascinating accomplishment by the Dixie Kid. Kid Wilson, Harrison, New Jersey, no decision in 10 rounds. Bob Moha. Fascinating fighter, Bob Moha. February 10th, Buffalo, New York, no decision in 10 rounds. Joe Gaynor, New York City, KO in 3 rounds. That would be January 29th. Willie Lewis, Paris, France, who lost to him in 20 rounds on April 29th, 1911. August 29th, 1911, he would face George Compantier, knocking him out in 5 rounds. Fascinating. As I said, George Compantier was a light heavyweight champion. He fought fighters such as Jack Dempsey. Fascinating. He lost his title to Battling Zeke. Seaman Brown, September 22nd, Plymouth, England. He knocked him out in 6 rounds. Johnny Summers, Liverpool, November 9th. He knocked him out in 2 rounds in England. I will show you a lot of these fighters, but they're in books. I just can't get to them. Every last one of these fighters here. Referee's decision was reversed by jury and sportsmen in favor of Dixie. So there was a controversy on November 9th in 1911 in a fight with Dixie Kid and Johnny Summers in Liverpool. So apparently Dixie Kid knocked out Johnny Summers in 2 rounds and the referee reversed the decision. How you can do that, I don't know. They said by an injury. It's crazy. 1912, Harry Lewis, Liverpool. He was stopped in 8 rounds. Looked like all his issues were in Liverpool, England. Dan Flynn, Glasgow. He lost to him in 10 rounds. Glasgow, Scotland. Jack Morris, London, England. Lost to him in 10 rounds. Marcel Thomas, Paris, France. Lost to him in 15 rounds. So the Dixie Kid, fascinating fighter, as you can see. I'm going to show you a few opponents of the Dixie Kid. We already looked at Mike Twin Sullivan. Let's take a look at Joe Walcott. Now I want to show you Ray Bronson. He was another opponent of the Dixie Kid. Ray Bronson was very fast with his hands, moved from side to side. Pretty good fighter. Ray Bronson. And this is the Barbados Demon, Joe Walcott. Now I did a profile on Joe Walcott. Look up Joe Walcott, Scrapbook Boxing, and you will learn about Joe Walcott. Fascinating fighter. Another good recommendation I will give you for studying Joe Walcott. Brother Blood Boxing. If you look up Joe Walcott, the Barbados Demon, Blood Boxing, and you will find out about Joe Walcott. So go to Scrapbook Boxing for Joe Walcott and Blood Boxing for Joe Walcott. And between the 2 channels, should give you enough information on Joe Walcott. Fascinating fighter was Joe Walcott. Salute to Joe Walcott. So Dixie Kid is in my Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Salute to the Dixie Kid. This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Salute to my subscribers. As I always say, great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Thanks for hanging in there. Salute.